Hey, welcome to the podcast, Steve.
Thank you for having me. Ashley, it's been a while. It's good to be back.
Yeah, you were, I guess, what would I say, pre-pandemic guest?
Yeah, I think it was back in 2020, like in the very beginning,
Hmm.
before everything started to really, I guess, close down.
Yeah.
And I've been busy since because the fact is, I knew at that point in time, everybody was leveled of
Mm.
being grounded to a point where that was an opportunity to whatever you wanted to produce or bring forward, take advantage because I believe we will never have that type of downtime ever again in our lifetime. And I think if you didn't take advantage of it, that's like you're lost. So Netflix didn't get the best of, the better half of me. It got a little bit of me, but I had to allocate some time to get some things done. And I've been busy
Yeah,
ever since.
that's good. I guess how are things for you, being an entrepreneur and doing a lot of things live and in person?
Well, the thing is, I'm still picking and choosing what events I'm doing. When I was on here before with my invention, the wandering.
Hmm.
Uh, Mainly, I was always interacting with people. So before before the pandemic, man, I love hundreds and 200s of different types of faces that you can take pictures of at events and crowded. And, now I try to be as spaced out as possible,
Hmm.
but I knew I had to pivot. Everybody had to pivot in the last couple of years, especially people that have businesses where it requires you to interact with people and you couldn't. So I had to pivot. And what I did was I worked on my presentation skills, my writing skills. Went back to my passion for inventing again and actually getting this thing going. I think the last time we talked, I was in the midst of getting the actual patent, but I got the patent for the Wandering that August. So I was excited for that. But then I think I learned from one of the pastors, T.D. Jakes. He said, when you get the taste of finishing, that is the only way you begin to respect yourself. So I think prior to me really completing things in life, I may have never respected myself in a way to like really carry it through, like finish it through. And now when you get a taste of completion, now you're so eager to be like, what's next? And
Yeah,
that's what I've been using that motto.
that's awesome. I scrolled a little bit on your Instagram and I saw a lot of the inventions and different clothing and things like that you're putting out. And I was like, it's good to see that. It's good to see that your creativity keeps going and that your energy keeps coming through.
I think in life, most people got to understand, they got to ask themselves, what is their passion? What gets them going? Not the current job that they're in. And some people may love the job that they're in.
Mhm.
Mental stability. Look at the world now. A lot of people's mindsets are very, very tainted because of hurt, pain, and maybe they could not, have the opportunity to exercise their passion.
Right.
I was talking to a friend today. He was saying that he wanted to be a zoologist, and I said, man, I remember you talked about that. But right now he's working in a job where it's taking a lot of his time, but that's where his passion is at. And I think in life we want to be in a position where what we're doing is what we really want to do versus like if they paid me or they didn't pay me, would you enjoy doing it? But I think the way how society is now, it's like, well, if I don't get this amount of money, I won't do this work. But where's your passion? And that's the whole thing. I had to really get back to that basics of understanding my passion.
Yeah. Did you, I guess, in the time that you spent understanding what your passion is, asking yourself the question, and I guess maybe did you have to pursue different avenues or how'd you go about doing that?
First, you got to start from within yourself. So I started getting books on my mentals. I actually wrote a couple books while I was at it too. One called Act and Grow Belief. And that book was really, the title says it, enough of it because everybody's familiar with Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And don't get me wrong, it's an awesome book, very
Mhm.
great book. But a lot of times people take themselves out of action. So when
Mhm.
I put in my title, Act and Grow Belief, that means, you start to put forth the action even before the feeling comes. A lot of times people wait to feel like they want to do it. Half the time I don't feel like doing nothing. But
Yeah.
what I do is act. And then what that happens is it allows your body to start to get into motion. And when your body starts to get into motion, then after a while, the things that you do, you start to believe in what you're doing and you're seeing the results. And you're like, oh, I want to keep on doing it. But if you just go off of thinking alone, you can think yourself out of a good plan, a bad plan, a good idea, the next move.
Yeah.
And time doesn't wait for nobody. So you got to make the decision. All right, what I'm going to do. And it's a shot clock, just like if we was playing basketball, 24-second shot clock. Either dribble, pass, or shoot. Most people hold on to the ball, and most people hold on to their thoughts. So I had to let everything go. And then also, don't limit yourself. I didn't put no chain or no padlock of the creativity I had. I went from wandering, patenting that, to me, coming out with I fell in 2019. I invented a hand massager for your neck and for your back out of tennis balls, because I've learned that tennis ball massages has a great effect on muscle knots. But the problem with that is that the tennis balls go all over the place.
Yeah.
So my whole concept was like, what can I create to house the balls to stay in one location that you can have full control of it? And that's where it came about. I think I was getting the oil change at Midas at the time. And thought came out out of nowhere. I said, I gotta make this thing happen. So yeah, your creativity, your passion is one thing that you gotta continue to keep going no matter what.
Brent, for anyone that doesn't know you or hasn't met you before, who do you say you are?
It's funny. I was waiting for that question. I think I was listening to a couple of your previous podcasts, and I think you asked a couple people, and I think one of the answers, one of the persons, they said, "I am me," and that's not the first time I heard that. I heard that when I used to listen to the Success magazine CDs that come in with the actual magazine, and I remember the guy that is the owner of Success. He said that was his answer. I am me. Well, when I think about Steve, the legacy, first of all, I think about a ball of energy that wants to harness all the power that God has given it, so that it doesn't benefit just himself, but the people around you. I'm like a beacon. I call myself a dynamo. I don't need anything charging me up. I charge people up. However, within that dynamo type of standpoint, you have to be around the environment where you can draw energy while you're producing energy to be able to attract. So I just think when it comes to me is that I'm a ball of energy that utilizes the source, which is, God Almighty, to be able to allow myself to really extend and help inspire people to be what they was designed to be, not what they thought or what they think, what they designed to be. Everybody's here for a reason. But a lot of times people don't tap into what they're supposed to be doing until it's last minute, or they never tap into it because they get so distracted. So I just want to be the example. I had to show up and be who I am because who I was looking for, I couldn't find. I'm gonna say that again. I had to show up and to be who I am as we speak today, because the person I was looking to find, I couldn't find. Couldn't find that person. I couldn't find that inventor that can help me and put me under the ring. I couldn't find that person that was writing books and being able to bring him up underneath his wing and teach me how to write books. I couldn't find that game developer, that board game that teach me how to design games. I had to become it. So I call myself that beacon, that dynamo.
That's, you brought up two great points, but just to hit on the last one that you brought up, at what point did you realize that you had to become what it is you were seeking?
When I couldn't find them, I was looking for that person. I think we all will want to have that mentor, that one that will help you throughout the trial and error of whatever you're trying to achieve in life. Sometimes they show up. Now, the whole saying, they always said that when a student is ready, the teacher is prepared. I've been ready for a while, but I haven't been a teacher, right? And sometimes it gets discouraging because it's like, you want that mentor, you want that. And I'm not saying that they're not out there. They all got price tags that come with them. I mean, the way how they package, but just the one that's looking for me. But when I was looking for somebody for me, I couldn't find them. I had to figure out, all right, how am I going to do this? But same with the patent situation. Patent lawyers want $450 an hour just to talk. I didn't have that. They want $13,000 for a patent. I didn't have that. So what's the best thing I can do? Using skill sets from places and people I used to work for, and me using those skill sets to help me get my own patent. Breaking things down into manageable pieces. Most people don't break down things into manageable pieces. They see the big monumental thing, and then from there, you know what? I don't think I can do it, and they quit.
Yeah. The reason I ask that is just for that very reason, because a lot of times it feels, I don't know if it comes with age or with the environment, but sometimes depending on where you're at in life, some sometimes you sometimes it may feel like I really wish somebody would show up to help me do this. I really wish. And it's like you can stay having that conversation for a long time and it really doesn't do anything to benefit you. But unless you can get outside yourself for a moment or energize yourself to say, hey, okay, I'm not finding these people, or the people that I see, I can't afford them, or we just can't connect. But I've got to become what it is that I want. Like at times it feels like it can be difficult to make that shift to say, okay, this is where I want to go. It's not happening. I've got to change and take the action necessary to become that, or at least get closer to it than I am now.
Now I feel you. Like for example, Ashley, personally, do you know a game designer that creates board games?
I do not. Well, I know you.
You know me.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Do you know anybody personally that got a patent themselves?
You.
See, outside of that, and that's what I didn't have at arm's reach.
Right.
I knew of my kind, my people, of the ones from the past that have gotten patents. But a lot of times, and this is another thing when I told you about the dynamo,
Mhm.
I not only got my patent myself, but now I teach people how to get patents too, because that was the person I was looking for too. And my culture, my community, who's that person, that go-to person that, oh, if somebody look like me that's trying to get a patent for their idea, who to go to? The only
Mhm.
two options you have, and I know offhand, is either Davidson, that you go ahead and Google right now, or Event Help, what you're going to see the advertising in no matter what. And those two companies been around for the longest of years, but I've been through that process where they get you started on the track for the race,
Mm.
but they're not always be there at the finish line. And where I come in at, to the point where since I touch every document that came from the patent office, I know what to expect. The great thing about being blessed with the process of me actually doing it is that I got rejected and I overcome that rejection. Imagine if I got through perfect flying colors and I don't know what to experience when you do get rejected and how that feels, because I really felt horrible. And my girl, she reminded me of what I said. She said, what was one of your 7 steps to success? Find out what you need to know to get the answer. I said, you're right. Let me find out what I need to know to correct this. When I get all the facts, then you go forth and make it happen. Most people operate with opinions, not having the facts and everything. And that's why things don't get started. So I had to get the facts. And the sad part, and then the most amazing part is the facts are out there. It's
Yeah.
just that you learn how to ask the right questions.
Right.
And most people don't know how to ask the right questions. And that's why we don't get the answers that we're looking for.
Mm. Was it difficult, like going through the process of asking the right questions? And did you find yourself becoming a different person, or different in the way that you thought or started approaching the situation, the more hurdles you came across?
It wasn't difficult. What it was that when you put yourself and what you want into question format, then it starts to make sense. Let me say it again. Put what you want in question format. Well, if I'm going to do this, how can I? Or what if I do this? What do I need? Wording the questions like that, first of all, it gets the engine going.
Mhm.
Second of all, it puts you in the right direction. That's why a lot of times, even most speakers, they always say that all you need to know is your why. That how to get there, that what, all that stuff, that comes later. And you always say to yourself, like, how did that, and what did that come later? Like, what are you talking about? No, when you find out why you want what you want, the what and everything else comes, and the how comes later. And I'm like, it's true. The
Yeah.
how, it just comes. And it's amazing when you see it, but your why has to be very grounded and focused. Like right now, I'll tell you about speed. Success, somebody told me a while ago, success loves speed, right? So I can say that I am a full-on professional game board designer. Not no one and done. He had a nice little lucky. No, I just recently created another board game in less than 24 hours. All that took for me is 3 hours to get the rules, the gameplay, and now when you know where to go from the first experience, it gets quicker. See, that's why people gotta get things moving. When it first started, when I first wrote my first book, it took me almost like 6 to 7 months to even get that together. The second book I wrote, it took me 2 months. And then just recently, it took me almost like 3 weeks. See, when you get better at what you're doing, it gets faster. You can produce more. And you know where it looks like to see the finish line. So now it doesn't make you feel like, oh, I don't have to be hesitant. That's why when I did a TED Talk recently, May 7th to be exact, I already seen myself there. My girl had a dream last year that was already on the stage already, but I had to see myself there first before I actually allow myself to be in that present time and reality. That's why I said a lot of times most people don't realize that most inventors, they create things 3 times. Once in
Yeah.
their mind, second on the paper, and the third one is in your hands. So we got to take that with everything we do.
Yeah. I think it's great that you bring up the TED Talk, because I remember in our first conversation just putting out the request and you responding. And I think one of the things that you'd said to me that stood out was you're always prepared, always ready, always working on having something to say, having, whether it's an analogy, having a message to give. And it's being in that, in how do they say, being in the lab, being, creating that in your mind first, and then afterwards, like making it more tangible.
When you live what you talk about, you always become it. I don't use scripts. That's the first time I did a script for the TED Talk, because it's a structure of how you do your presentation on TED Talk. But once you get the structure down pat, I have to show the video if you didn't see it. Once you get the structure down pat, everything else flows. But before, that's the first time me having to really recite. And I haven't recited anything since I think my 8th grade play, when I played The Prince and Cinderella. Other than that, it's off the dome. You give me a topic, I do research on the actual information. All right, the platform, and let's go. But this one had to be structured in a way where they had to follow the flow. You had to have a transcript along with it so that they could make sure that you're on point and everything else. So it was a nice little animal, but I was able to conquer it. Like right now, they they have it on standby to actually post the other version of my video, because they want to make sure I wasn't soliciting. I was not soliciting. I'm saying
Right.
what I was able to accomplish after I started to understand my genius or my creativity. So now they got to figure out, making sure that I wasn't soliciting, but I'm just showing you what has been done. I don't care if you buy it, you not buy it, but I want to show you what's, because I noticed that you don't hear a lot of the people that have been successful until probably down the line when they want to do their autobiography, or when they want to do, a documentary or something like that. Other than that, you don't hear about it. Like, for example,
Right.
I didn't know the game Phase 10. I still never played it. I bought the game recently, but I know Phase 10 was invented by a black guy. I found out last year. But as soon as I found out that it was a black guy that invented it, I said, I gotta have a game. And that's one. I created 201 in less than 2 days too, as well, because I'm like, all right, when he said that he looked at the success from Uno, and he said, I gotta compete with Uno because I seen the success. So then he's number 2 in the country. I mean, number 2 in the world as far as card games. Uno number 1. Number 3 is Skippo. I'm trying to knock Skippo off the map with the 2-1 and try to go for the title too as well. But I like to see that it was us. Okay, I see somebody that looks similar to me.
Yeah.
It's possible. The guy that created Uno, he was selling out the trunk of his car before he got his big break at the barbershop. So it's like, when you know, and that's another thing, when you study these people and understand their backstory and not just be envious about their lifestyle and how much money they got, you want to find out what they had to do to get there. And that's how you make sure you find out that you're on the right track. I'm on the right track.
Right.
Even though I'm not where I would want to be right now, but I'm getting in a position where, say you get that call tomorrow, that call that they want you to come down there and they want you to I'm set. So what my thing is, to be on this segment, you got to be prepared even when you're not prepared.
Right.
That's what I'm doing.
It's funny. When you speak about being prepared, late last year, we had a men's retreat with Prayer Warriors Global. It's like they created it into a 501c3, I think, through maybe during 2020. But basically, the prayer line's been around for like 20 plus years, maybe closing in on 30 years at this point. But something that they kept wanting to do with the retreat was someone had the idea, organized it, and said, okay, this should be a place for men to be able to come together, fellowship, and be able to get away from the world for a bit, but also be poured into. And it's like the way that you can make it happen, it's like people have to be willing to pay for it. But this time around, it's the structure was put in place to where there would be presentations, there's always time for you to be able to hang out and meet people that you talk to on the phone regularly throughout the year, but you've never seen in person. And just being able to have those interactions and things like that. Something that came up was one of the guys set up in person mics to be able to do a podcast. And I've never done a podcast in person. And it's the last 3 episodes, like 2 of the episodes I recorded there. And one of the guys just asked me, it's like, hey, you want to try it out? And I was like, sure. And one of the guys the first guy that I recorded with, Chris Crump, had written down in my notes before, like back 3 years ago, that I wanted to interview him. And then there's the opportunity presented right there. And it's just that reminder that whenever the opportunity presents itself, you have to be ready. And even if you're not ready, you have to go with it. But something that I listened to earlier today said these guys were having a discussion about how to get funding. And one thing that they talked about that movies kind of do a disservice to people is that everyone thinks it's like you have this great story, this highlight, and it's kind of grandiose, where it's like at the end of the movie, the credits roll and that's it. Everyone's like, they have the things like, oh, and this happened and that happened. But one of the things they said, it's like when you get the opportunity or you get the money that you were asking for, like similar to me being able to do a podcast in person, it's like now you actually have to do something. Like you have to run that business, you have to do that, and you're never going to see that in a movie. Like after the credits roll, like there's still work to be done. So after these years, seeing you continue to build upon what it is that you've done and just continue to be that ball of energy to just continue to learn, study people, and build upon what it is that you have. That's very encouraging to see.
No, I really appreciate it. And I like that backstory that you said about that. I think brotherhood, period, is much needed, especially now more than anything.
Yeah.
But just to have that opportunity, that's kind of good. I realized, in life, first off, we get this one opportunity to be here, right? At this particular time. And if you talk about movies, I'm a movie buff. It's always that beginning and that climax and then redemption and then, strong ending.
Mm-hmm.
No, I look at life like that. You have the beginning and trying to figure things out, trying to see what you like, what you don't like. You got some people that get conformed to the status quo. I was there. I think I did like a 5-year bid of being conformed until that passion inside of you start to be like, yo, it's more to life than this. And you get that itch and you have to scratch it. If you don't scratch it, you'd be miserable. I noticed that if I don't create, I'm not a happy camper. If I don't have, and I knew that something was missing years ago when I stopped creating, because you get so, especially working for corporate, you get so hooked up with management and you're forgetting your purpose of why you was here, and something's missing. And I knew it was the freedom. I call it now. It was the freedom to create. And the reason why I call it a freedom, because most people don't have that freedom because their time is allocated to something else. I thank God for the freedom to create. They have to, because even when you create a board game, let alone writing a book, you have to be detailed and have that think time to know how the thing is going to play. Remember, you're creating something that other people are going to play, not just you. And you got to think of all these different elements and all these different ins and outs. That's a lot of detail, think time, and think power. When you have that distraction or trying to conform to the status quo, stuff like that will never exist. That's why I was wondering, like, why, like, a lot of these board games are old as dirt. Look at Uno. Uno was like back in the 70s. And then Phase 10 back in the 80s. Nobody tried to come out with trying to compete or condemn. Hello, 2-1. Somebody had to come out from the room. I understand. We could clap. They had a nice little ring. Champion for all them years. Oh, it's a new kid on the block now. Let's see what we could do. But you have to have that think time to do it. You have to have that freedom to be creative, without people putting that thumb on your back or saying that you're not good. So I always learned that through the life of difficulties, birth opportunities. So be on the lookout for difficulties because there's opportunities right around the corner.
Mm. How have you learned to embrace difficulties?
By understanding it, what lesson I got to go from the question, what lesson am I about to learn from this?
Mm.
What's the experience? What's the story? I always look at what's the story I can use when it's time when you have made it. You know, that's how you get your analogies together. That's how you get your storyline together. That's how when you start to speak, you have a story for a lot of different things. That's why a lot of times I kind of tag in some movies or some of my speeches or some experiences because you're going through the ins and outs. I mean, I'm a Rocky fan. You know, I like Creed too as well. And the
Mhm.
reason why is because of the fact, not just because of the fighting scenes or the scenes of what he's training, but it's just the hunger. You know, a lot of people are not hungry anymore. And it was
Yeah.
at one point I wasn't hungry. I mean, we just get, into the routine. That's why I don't even like holidays like that. I make my own, I create my own holidays. I don't have to be national. Why I gotta celebrate what everybody else celebrates? Create my own. Why I
Yeah.
gotta wait every year for a birthday? Every day could be a birthday. I remember one mentor one time, I was working with Primerica one time. He was like, yeah, you're so hype about your birthday, but you're broke, right? How you feel? How you feel? You feel good, right? Imagine if you had the money you want, your birthday could be every day. Why you gotta wait for this one day and you feel like you're broke? And I had to take it on the chin. I had to take it on the chin. I didn't like how it sounded. I didn't like the bank account, but also I didn't like my lack of creativity. Once again, every man, every woman have some type of passion they have in a system. And if they don't tap into it, there are going to be situations where things in life going to be difficult because they're doing something that they was not here to be doing. So the whole question is you got to find out what you're supposed to be doing. What is your passion? What do you give?
Yeah.
And once you define that, then the first day of the new day of your new life will start to begin.
I like that. How do you how do you have fun with the work that you do? Whenever it's like you have the whenever you're going to create something, you have the excitement phase or you have the aha moment, like, oh, this would be a great idea. But then it's like you've got to do the research phase, and then you have to actually like do the trial and error and be like, okay, this is working, this is not good, or like, oh man, okay, I've got to start all over, or like this didn't work, let's do it again. Let's do it
The thing
again.
what I love about it is that when you sit back and see the growth, like for example, when 2-in-1 first came out, the logo looked like this. And I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, man, I'm ready. This is logo. This is what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Then I say, you know what? I'm gonna try to get the logo a little bit better. Have it like that.
Mhm.
I think I'm cool. I think I'm satisfied. I think I'm content.
Yeah.
You want to be the best, you got to keep on growing yourself. So now I said, this is going to be the card. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it this way. The journey is always, why do you think they call it the pursuit to happiness? They didn't say that when you get obtain, it's the pursuit, the journey of working towards it. When I had to come up with the formula and the process of how to install tennis balls without them losing air pressure
Mm.
through one of the rack, that took trying to, I murdered a whole lot of tennis balls that first day. A lot of them died. They couldn't stand a chance. And we all had a funeral and everything for them. But I tell you, after I think the 15th ball I killed, I finally got it. So it's a pursuit. And then also people ain't gonna gravitate right away. And this is what you have to learn. You got the early adopters.
Mm.
No, first you got the innovators, then you got the early adopters, then you got the rest of the people. And the early adopters, they see things coming like for example, we missed that NFT wave. We toe dipping. People jump full force in that thing. Now, a lot of scandals going on with that. So another story for another day. But anyway, when it first came out, it was like, wait, what is this thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, but the people that was like early adopters that gravitate to it, they're like, yo, I'm jumping head for, and they made their money.
Mm.
Same thing with life, what you're trying to do in life. Are you going to toe dip or are you going to jump head first? The benefit of jumping in heads first versus toe dipping is that you keep on putting your toe in that water, your toe gonna keep getting cold. But when you dump your whole body in that water, the body temperature, your body starts to regulate with the water. So now you're okay, but you got to jump all the way in. You can't just put half the body in. You're still gonna be good. You know how you get you're like, oh, get your
Yeah.
body in that thing.
Even getting in a
It's like,
cold
oh,
shower.
yeah, just get in there. And now look, now they got studies saying, oh, cold showers help really regulates the nerves of the body now. Oh wow, like man, they had to do that before somebody invented a hot water tank, right? So we've been using cold showers forever. But yeah, I think the journey, the pursuit, is one of the most rewarding things that you can't really put a price to.
I like that. What was the TEDx experience like for you?
It was surreal. what I had to do first, and there was no other speakers that was doing this, right? Everybody was going in other rooms. Why are they going in other rooms practicing? Shouldn't you be practicing on the stage? We didn't even get a chance to be on the stage. We did Zoom calls for practice and rehearsals for like a month. So the first time we saw the stage was the same day that we was going to get on stage. So you mean to tell me I'm not going to take advantage of that? Showtime is at 11, right? We did at 9 o'clock. Everybody practicing in all these different rooms. You're not doing a performance in them other rooms. You got to do it. So what I did was I act out my walk to the stage. I act out my position of where I'm going to be at. Everything that you've seen on the video, if I showed you the video, I did that 4 or 5 times before I actually did it because I'm visual. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my other people that did the thing, but they was not as comfortable. They didn't get the feel. I felt the red dot, the carpet feel of my foot on the red dot. I had to feel that. The placement where I stood at, the way I had my arms, my walk, my stroll had to be confident. If I would have walked on that platform with a stroll that was not confident, my whole speech would be all knocked out. I had to go in there like I own the stage. If you don't do that, what you do in life, world going to eat you up. Fear going to eat you up. I said in my last interview, I said, when fear comes, you better show your plan, but you better have a plan to show the fear. If you don't have a plan for the fear going to eat you up. No matter what you say. Got to have a plan because the fear going to tell you, oh, what if it don't work? And your plan, you're going to know it's going to work because I had no plan B. It has to work where it has to work. That's it.
I'd say just say the last part about fear one more time, but a little slower.
When fear comes, when it comes inside your system, and it's going to always come, you got to be prepared. A lot of people are not prepared when fear comes, and that's why they go by the wayside. So in order to combat fear, you show them your plan. You have the plan and show fear the plan. They got to get out the way. Fear has to move because he knows exactly what he's trying to do. I can't come at him that way. I may come to another way, but even the other way going to be protected. Why? Because the plan has it. That's why in my 7 steps to goal setting, step 3 is list the obstacles and adversities that you have to face. If you already know offhand what you have to face as far as obstacles and adversity, then what are you fearful for? You already have it mapped out already. It should be one of them things when it comes, like, I knew it. So, all right, came a little earlier than expected, but I know exactly how to handle that versus, oh my gosh, what to do now?
Yeah. It's funny. I caught an interview earlier. I think I'm going to misremember the name, but it was an interview that they had with Elon Musk, and they were asking him how he feels about fear. And he says that fear is something that he feels readily, but that despite feeling it, he goes with it. Like, I think he was saying in order to start his SpaceX company or Tesla, there was like a 10% chance that he might succeed, but more than likely it's like, that's probably not going to work out. But again, back to that reason of why, like, just having a desire or believing in something strong enough to say, I'm going to start and I'm going to put my all into it. Because I guess there's always the fear from wanting to be safe, secure, and not wanting to mess up what you have in life. But sometimes it's like what you don't have is what it is. But I guess what you could have could be a little bit better. And if you're not fearful of it, maybe you shouldn't bother with it.
I feel you on that one. My man Jim Rohn said it best. He said, life is risky. Going out the door is risky. You can't get out of life alive, so everything's risky. So the thing is, you want to have your chances that you take in life, take the risk. I'll say that, even if it doesn't work out, you have a story to tell. Add to your stories. You want to be a story of, I always say you want to be a storyteller.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any story to tell, that means you're not doing enough work. I'm gonna say it again. If you don't have a story to tell, that means you're not doing enough work. You should have a story where everything that you do, some type of experience, whether good or bad, so you can help somebody else in that process. If you don't have that, then you're not even helping yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I heard one of the interviews from Success magazine that the owner said his father was like, asked him, how was your day? And he said, yeah, I didn't fall down that one time when I was skating. He said, you didn't learn nothing. You figure, oh, I didn't fall down, I should be a pro. No, you didn't learn nothing. You didn't experience nothing. You didn't know how to adapt. You didn't know how to pivot. Learn how to fall. It's like sometimes you think it's bad English, but no, because I looked at my daughter, for example. I remember the first time she started freaking out when Wi-Fi died. I tell you, I didn't have that problem when I was a kid. They freak out. Wi-Fi get cut. It's like the end of the world, right? So I
Yeah.
said, Layla, I'm gonna teach you how to troubleshoot first. She didn't know what that meant. Before you tap me, I want you to do this, this, and this. And if it still doesn't work after that, then come get me. She didn't ever tap me. Why? Because I told her how to troubleshoot, overcome that. Versus, oh, it's broke. Babies, you can't tell them nothing. That thing's not working. They just throw down. They break that whole thing up. You can't tell them because they have impatience. We have that microwavable type of success of what we want in life. And I've learned through the hard way. And I think this is the pain point of not understanding the farm life, is that everything doesn't just happen in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It takes time to nurture, to develop. This stuff, the reason why I can produce faster now is because it took me a long time to figure this crap out. Find out who I need to talk to, get my illustrators down, my connects to get the boxes, or who going to design this and design the cars. It takes time, but once you do that legwork, you'll be like, I want to come out with this. That's why I say I can't wait till I get the big office one day where my room is only going to be windows and a chair, no desk. Mm-hmm. And they're going to walk past my room like, what he does in there? He's a thinker. We're waiting for our next idea. We're giving him an hour. He'll have it. But he don't have nothing. He's just windows. That's all he needs. He needs windows in the chair and his little whiteboard. That's all he needs. We leave him alone. Let's just crack the door, but let's move down to the hallway for the rest of the people. Then I come a couple of hours later. I got the next hottest game. They're ready for it? Ready to present. Just give me my time to think. And that's why I knew I needed that I didn't have when I worked in corporate America and when I was going through life struggles with relationships and everyday life situations. A piece of me was gone. Once I got that piece back, it kind of balanced life back to where it needs to be at. And that's what I learned from there.
I like it. How did, I think I might have asked you this earlier today, but going through the pandemic area, 2020 to 2021, maybe some of 2022, what was that like for you? I know you mentioned having to ask yourself the questions and get back into being more creative, but what is it that you did to keep yourself reinvigorated, and what is it that you continue to do now to not allow yourself to settle?
That's a good question. I think what I did was I kept ordering books, old books at that, books on the mind, books on life, books on time, books on auto conditioning. Got this one book I paid, I think, $25 for, called 20-Minute Retreats. Started taking little retreats in my mind. And the luxury of that was that when you take these retreats, these thoughts came to my head and gravitate. When I first realized everything was shutting down during the pandemic, I was in the bathroom and someone just said, they're going to need some masks, man. What if I could find somewhere that I could start selling the masks? I designed the website in less than an hour, taking orders. It was so quick. But it's like you had to be in that hunger position. A lot of people wasn't hungry. You got to always be hungry. You never be content. You be satisfied to the point where, all right, cool. Like, for example, when I got the patent in the mail, that same feeling I got when it came in the mail, I had that feeling already before I even got the patent. So I said to myself, Dad, I was waiting for some type of more of a hoorah. And I said, no, you already had that feeling before you even had the physical version in your hand, because you already claimed that you was going to have it in your mind. So why would you expect a different feeling or emotion because now you see it on paper? You already believed that you had it before you had it. So I said to myself, on everything I do, I'm believing I have the success before I have it. Now, you want to enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to stay there. You always want to know that somebody else is competing, trying to be better. Somebody else is trying to go out there. Like, for example, I want a Taggy Award now. I found out what a Taggy Award. Taggy Award is a toy Oscar. Like if you was in the Oscar realm of things, as far as what, it's just a toy version of an Oscar. I want to tag you now. And I believe in the midst of things I've been creating, I could be in a run for it, So you start to look like, all right, I want that. And then also on a Black inventors thing, I want more exposure of empowering the Black inventors. Like most people don't know more than 5, if that. of Black inventors. And half the stuff that we use on everyday uses involve them. But now we want to quit that. I want to create that awareness because I'm like, I'm a patent inventor, first generation. I need to get that out there. People need to talk. Now you're gonna have the people be like, oh, why you single out saying this support Black? Hold up. If we don't support ourselves, who else gonna do it? A lot of that stuff was hidden from the history books. I went to school. I told people in the TED Talk, the one that inspired me to invent was Steve Urkel, a fictional character that was created by some studio that inspired me. I didn't hear about George Washington Carver, all them people. I got to high school, and that was just like a little mustard seed worth of knowledge. But it's like, man, look at all that. So now I want to give hope to the possibility of, you never know who's the next George Washington Carver that's probably grown up but don't know exactly what to do. I want to be that plug. I want to be that connection. I want to be like, look, they talking about 15,000 for this patent. How about we cut all that in half and you do this, bada bing, bada boom. You want to spend not even close to that. Not even a fraction of it. How would that feel like? How would that sound? That'd probably be more inviting. Why? Because that guy, Steve, he's been there before. He has proof. He can talk the talk that he's talking because he has done it. He touched every document. He's not a person that's trying to throw fumes up and give you all these high hopes of things and then leave you hung on and dry. No, he's doing it. That's why I'm always talking about not talking to brag, but saying that if I can do it, you can do it. When is the last time somebody told you that? If I could do something, you can do it. Nobody don't sit around telling your own family members don't even do that, you know? And half the time, they're not even for you or friends. And you got to understand that too. That's why a lot of people got to understand when they get into this realm of things, something that's different outside the norm is not always inviting to the person that was with you, your friends. Because the thing about it, and this is why I always thought, was it me? Am I the one that's changed? No, what happens is you're forcing them to have to change if they want to be around you. That's the problem. The problem is not you coming out with it. No, the people now, I can't come at him this way like I used to. I have to change, and I don't feel like changing. So then what we're going to do is we're going to say, man, you changed. Yeah, I did. I did change. I got better. And I'm on an express train that has no stops. Either you catch up and jump on the back of it and hold on for dear life, let's go. But it's not a local train. This is express train. The train is moving. Can't wait for you. I'm sorry. I was there before.
Yeah.
I was the local train station at one point. Come on, man, do this, man. Yo, you do this, you have. Some people have it, some people don't. And what I mean by that, some people have the hunger and some people don't. I'm not saying they don't have the passion. Everybody got passion for something, but a lot of people don't have hunger. That's the difference.
What's your experience been like working with being able to work with people that have the passion and the hunger and willingness to get it done, and you being in a position to say, okay, here's what I've done, here's how you can do it. They actually listen to you and follow through and on what they say they want to do.
Well, I'm glad it's a good question that you asked, Asha. I'm still waiting for those type of people. What I get a lot of times is people that have I get more pictures of them trying to sell me their ideas than anything. You got a lot of people that don't want to do legwork. They got a lot of people that just like, oh, I got this idea. I only take 40%, you have 60. So I could do all the work. Are you serious? I said to myself, I'm like, man, I got two companies that will love to take all your money for that. Davidson and Invent Help. Let them do that. But I'm for the person that's trying to figure out how to do this thing. I can hold your hand, but I can't do everything for you. And God is going to send me those people. Right now, it's like, guys, like, look, get your stuff out there. Steve, work as much as you can, build as much as you can, right? Because one thing I learned best from one of the guys, my name is Nehemiah Davis, he said, the great thing about when you create something digital or tangible is that you do it one time and get paid on it forever. When the last time you thought about that? You know, if you work at a 9-to-5 job, in order to get that same check that you got the previous week, you got to put forth the same amount of hours. It took me how many hours to create the 2-in-1 game? I sell one for oh, sorry about that. I sell one for about $15 to $20, constantly over and over again. But it took one time to make it. And when I got that psychic in my mind saying, create something one time and get paid on forever, I'm like, yo, I got to find more things to create. You want to have a catalog of stuff. They always selling us their stuff. Yeah, Finger Hut book coming in the mail, and they always want to buy stuff. Come on, everybody's always selling something. Why you can't be the one selling? It could be your skill set, it could be services, it could be products, it could be digital, it could be tangible, it could be physical. Something that you have as far as knowledge and expertise in, you can be sounded. Well, however, if you don't have the right mindset of how to package it, then I understand that's a different story for another day. But don't say that there's not opportunities there. And
Right.
it's great. You said it most great scripture said it best. Seek and you shall find. See, I don't knock on the door. I kick doors in. I always tell people that. And it's not even a joke. I'm dead serious. I don't ask for permission. I ask for forgiveness. Asking for permission stops you. Asking for permission, asking for forgiveness give you mercy. A lot of stuff I do, I don't ask permission. Oh, I'm like, oh, I know. I'm sorry. But now that you see me, how can we do it? No, don't be asking for no permission. Ask for forgiveness. You get more mercy by that. You ask permission. Yeah, can I do it? No, you can't do it. You're like, oh, versus I did it. Why you do that? Oh, I thought if I could do it. Oh, wait, what you do again? I'm glad you asked. And then you go, no, come on, see, come on.
Yeah.
Nah, can't ask for permission. I don't even think the world really respects people asking for permission on certain things. Now, certain things I say in the household, yes. But if you notice, a lot of times when you had these interviews with people that had made it, you're like, well, what gave you the courage or the actual inspiration? I gotta eat. I was homeless. I mean, look at Tyler Perry, billionaire, right? We all look at the lavish life. And I know you probably seen his house and everything he got as far as the studio and everything like that. Beautiful, beautiful. But are you willing to be homeless for 2 years? We love Steve Harvey. He's on all these different TV shows. He's on this and bada bing, bada boom. Steve got everything on him. But are you willing to starve and have to fish in other people's lake and cook him the dinner on a friggin' park grill to eat and live out your car? Are you going to do that? Don't say I love this and don't want to do that. So
Right.
always sales every day. Some days you have zero, but it's the pursuit of getting the sales. What am I gonna do? How many contests? Now, if and this is what I say to myself: if my numbers are low, am I asking for the business? If I'm asking enough people, how many no's you get today, Steve? If you didn't get a lot of no's, then you know you're doing something wrong. I didn't say yeses. I said no's. Why? Because if you go through a whole lot of no's, eventually you're gonna find nice little yeses in between. But if you don't go through a lot of no's because you're so scared and reluctant, and you're like, oh, I don't want to get turned down. No. Then your odds of getting yeses is really depleted. So how many no's I'm gonna get?
Yeah.
I ask family and friends every time. They tell me no, okay, cool. Because I remember they're gonna be the same ones that down the line, I knew he could do that. And look, we were just talking the other day, and I said, man, you got it. And they come in, Kevin Hart said it best. They come, you know what I'm saying? The critics come, you know what I mean? But you gotta be focused and know that you know. No matter what, people are gonna talk about you, whether good or bad anyway. The whole goal is to stay in the conversation. Let me say that again. People are going to talk about you good or bad anyway. It doesn't matter. The whole goal is to stay in the conversation. And you know why? You always want to be relevant. The day that you're not relevant is the day that, hey, he ain't doing enough. When you're doing enough, that's when that spotlight. When you ain't doing enough, they ain't worrying about you. The light ain't coming your way. Like you ain't even doing nothing. Yeah, I want to do something, not to be hated on, but to do something like that. He always another book. I had a guy produced from one of the news stations here. I went on and I presented my game back in 2021, Dictionary Daddy, and that was a great thing. Built it with my daughter. But when I came out of my recent game before this other game, he's like, another game? Leave. If I'm not producing, something wrong. You got to check on me. If I'm not producing, you got to be like, Steve, everything okay? Because I see you're not producing anything. Yeah, right now, everything's okay. The day you see I'm not creating anymore, something wrong. You better go tap me. Yo, something wrong.
I think what's powerful that you said about producing and something that it's something that you have to keep on doing, because it can be misleading whenever you want to get to where, okay, you're in a place of discomfort, you want to be more comfortable. Like if you're homeless, you want to not be homeless, but it's that having that continual pursuit. I think some people might miss that in the fact that when you're pursuing something, if someone's creative, if they wrote one book, it's like somebody would be like, oh, another book, another thing. And it's not that. Some people would be like, oh, they'll use a broad stroke term to be like, oh, this person's just a capitalist. They just want the money. It's like, yeah, some people want the money, but in all reality, it's a way of life. Like if you don't take a shower every day or regularly throughout the week, like that has a negative effect. If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't eat regularly, if you don't drink water, if you don't breathe, that has a negative effect. So the things that people create, the things that people pursue, the things that people produce, like there's a reason why there's hundreds and hundreds of things. Sometimes people will say like, oh, like this over consumerism, there's way too many things, you should just stick to like a couple of things. And it's like, I think there is a truth to that for myself, trying to be a minimalist. But
I,
speaking with you, I can appreciate now like the mentality that comes with, I want to create because this is a way of life for me. This is something that feeds me, because then it's not just, oh, this person's just greedy, so I'm just going to write them off. Oh, they just want my money. It's like, okay, well, could I say that I don't want money? Could I say that I don't want attention? Could I say that there's nothing positive about that? It's like, if you're constantly looking for the negative, you're going to find it. If you're constantly looking for something to be offended about or amused about, like you're going to find humor or something. You can find the good or bad in anything. And I think that's just a beautiful thing to glean from what you were just saying about just the need to produce. Like that's where the light would come on you, good or bad. But it's like, hey, like something's going on here. Like the past month or so, it's gone from one thing in the news cycle. It went from, okay, we have a war going on, to there's this celebrity trial going on, to atrocities going on, and then back to the celebrity trial. But I was like, a part of me was like, hey, I have the option not to watch and not to pay attention, but there's something out there going on, and I'm I'm only bothered by it if I take away time from what I'm supposed to be doing or what it is that I enjoy doing. And I'm just going to put my attention here. Oh, why are they showing us this? It's like, who's they? Like, nobody's showing you, like, nobody's coming, opening my eyelids and saying, like, look, you have to pay attention to this. But then it just put back in my mind the challenge of saying, hey, if it's getting out of the house on the weekend, and or if it's staying in the house and recording with you, it's like, do something that's going to make you productive, make you happy, in a sense to where maybe you've got to struggle a little bit through it, but just do something to where when you go back to work on Monday and you're cutting up with your coworkers, it's not just like, I did nothing. I just sat, did nothing. Every weekend's exactly the same. Because then it's like, for me at least, it can become bothersome to where it's, if I wanted to do nothing and I did nothing, I'm fine with that. But when I keep retelling the same story that I don't enjoy telling, that becomes a problem.
no, I feel you on that one. So this year marks 20 years since I graduated from high school, right? You can ask me this question: does it feel like 20 years? No, it doesn't feel like 20 years because I don't have 20 years worth of memories that have fulfilled me on that one. It's sporadic. Most of my impactful memories that I have, I would say, that was effective, that made me feel good. Daughter could say the same thing. It's the year 2019. That's the year I created the Wandering. That's the year I did a whole lot of events and venues. That was the year I served a lot of people. I got more impact from serving. Remember, service to the many will lead you to greatness. People want to be great, but people don't want to serve. So I'm like a minimalist towards anything I buy or anything my girl buys me, it has to be personalized. I don't buy nothing that's like retail. Everything's personalized, you know. If it's a bracelet I'm wearing, necklace, personalized. I only wear crystals, to tell you the truth. But other than that, I don't buy a lot of different things because I create everything. That's why it's hard for me to. Nobody can buy me nothing. The best thing they can actually do is buy something that's personable that came from them, because I'm not into that. That's not my thing. But I love to create for people, and I love to be an inspiration to people, so they could be like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it too. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to be that one. Like I asked you before, besides me, any inventors? I mean, offhand, any good game board designers offhand? It's a whole lot of authors now. Everybody, I mean, you find authors dime a dozen now.
Yeah.
But now, like, let me tackle into something else that's going to take you to do more thinking. I'm not saying that it doesn't take a lot of thinking to write, but it's kind of easier to come out with a book than coming out with games and stuff like that, or inventions, because it's more. I'm not saying that anything is better, but it's more detail oriented. A lot of moving parts. But it's, once you get it done, it's always a breath of fresh air, and then you're able to teach, and that's the whole goal.
Yeah.
Somebody else, not store all the information. Remember, education is to draw out of knowledge. It's to draw out, not to keep information inside. To draw out so that you can pour into somebody else.
Hmm. I like that. I want to speak more about the game, because when you mentioned like actually creating a game, I'm curious what that experience was like for you, because when I think about it, you mentioned it earlier, there are staple games that they've been around for a long time, but just that the ability, I don't know if you'd call it the stickiness of it, or just like games like Monopoly and like the evolution of Monopoly. Some people know it and other people don't, but called Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki, being like, okay, here's how you go from working with money, you're buying hotels and buildings, and then it's like, okay, now let's raise the stakes up a little bit. Let's do, instead of just hotels, railroads, and this, like here's stocks, here's taxes, here's childcare, here's different things. Okay, like let's put that up. So like, how did you get into the game development to say, hey, I want to create a board game? And like what was the motivation or the challenge that you were trying to accomplish?
Never on the radar until one Saturday morning. My daughter was asking me all these questions. And kids always ask questions. They ask you questions to death. And I kept getting answers to it. And she called me Dictionary Daddy. That name just stood out. I said that could be a board game. I could see that being a board game. So the question is, well, what is the motive? What's the purpose of having this game? How can you teach kids and how can they have fun at the same time? So you look at different ideas, what's out there, and then you try to put your twist on it. So I said, well, we could keep it like a situation where they are sneaking to go play video games, but in the meantime, there's different things that they have to go through the board to experience in order to get there. Daddy is a person that he's all business. He's about reading. So if you get caught by him, you got to sit with him. You got to read, and until it's your next turn. So my daughter and I, we just started drafting out the different images, things like that. I had an illustrator that was on standby that was just waiting for the idea to be just pushed on so he could draw for me. And that's the good thing too, as well, when you have your team that makes things go faster too. I could come up with ideas. I'm like, I want this, I want that. And then they come back with it. That's what I'm looking for. But another thing, what I learned too, and my daughter even said it, I don't communicate with a lot of people on my team through voice. It's all about texting back and forth. And a lot of them are not even from the country. They're from different countries. But you have to be an avid communicator to communicate ideally in detail of what you want. So it won't be no back and forth like, oh, no, I didn't want that. No, so we had to write everything down, the rules, write down what happens when they do this. I had to create like a sample spinner and looked at the odds. What's the odds of them picking this side? Is it 50-50? Is it 75-25? So it's a lot of different things that you had to really work in, moving parts before you get a finished product. But it was a fun thing because it was like, we had this pursuit. Then I tried to pitch it to Hasbro and Mattel, and they turned me down. So then I'm like, oh shoot, I got this idea, I got all this stuff there. So that was my way in. And they said no. So then the question was like, what if you produce it yourself? How would you do it? That was the question. Well, what you need first? Well, first I need to print out the board game. All right, so you got to find out where to do that. I got to find out where I can print the cards at. I got to find out where I get the spinner at. Okay, that's 3. Got to find out where I get the boxes from. I have to find out how much it costs to, to bag you up to different pieces and things like that. So every component, every different inch of that board game was mapped down to a science of a price. That's how I was able to price my game. I didn't price it in a way where I made it so astronomical that they'd be like, you know what, I ain't paying for it. That's why you'll see a lot of games out there, they sell them for $50, $70 because the fact is it probably costs them about $25 to $30 to produce. And they only make about like $20 on top of it. That's why they got to sell so much. Whereas I think landing for now, and that's still expensive, is like 15, and I sell for 35. But I had to break that down to a science because I said, I would not want to come out with a game I can't afford to make a profit. Some people I've reached out to that had games out that made the news during the pandemic, and I reached out to them by email, and it was like, "Yeah, we're not making any money, but it's good publicity of being in the news." I'm like, "Not making no money," because the cost of them to produce is the same price that they selling it for.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, what are you gonna do for that? Even a card game. I created the card game by hand. The first sample, this is by hand. I paste and glue every piece on it, one by one, 75 cards. Talk about hands all messed up. I got tired of that. I said, this is crazy, right? So then I'm like, I contact someone over in China. Now, I don't know if you've been following the news, but months ago, a lot of the containers from other countries was stuck at the docks. Mm-hmm. So a lot of stuff was backlogged. So I had to find another alternative. So I found another alternative. I had to find out what type of paper to use because the cards that I was using was kind of different. You had to get the right type of paper. What type of print you're going to use on it? You know, do you get the same card feel? Like you get better and better as you go. Where you get the boxes from?
Yeah.
How much you're going to price it? Things like that. So the journey was good. It's a beautiful journey. But a lot of it always comes from this idea of what happens if I do this? Start asking yourself questions and you'll see what answers you'll get in return. Most people don't ask themselves questions. Start asking yourself questions. You'll be like, well, what if I do this and this happens? Your mind start to go to work for you and start to try to think for you. Ask the right people and reach out to the right people.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's funny because an idea popped up into my head and it's like, but what if I get an answer? It's like, good. If you're not comfortable with the answer, it's like maybe just do it anyways. Like just try it. Like
just try it.
You're not gonna die. Like if it's something that might be threatening your life, ask again. Maybe you'll get a better response.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not jumping out no planes and doing no bungee jump. Will Smith can have that. I don't need that. I don't need that type of thrill to prove anything wrong. But me, I'm like this. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You learn a lesson.
Yeah.
You go through experience. You may can help somebody. What's the best thing that can happen? It may hit. It may be that one idea that just took you to millions.
Yeah. I think that's a great, not just a great idea, but also a great tool to ask the question, but also take the time to write it out physically, like you said, working on the cards, like physically pasting them together and be like, okay, what is this like? And then it's like you got to the point you're like, okay, this isn't gonna work. So like,
this is
I still want to do it.
This right here, but I had to. It's one thing when you think in your head, but I had to feel and touch it. So the closest you could do is let me just cut them out and put it on a card and let's play the game.
Yeah.
Let's see if the game actually works.
Right.
Because it may work good in your head, but does it really work on gameplay? And I remember in the book, the guy that wrote, the guy that came out with Phase 10, he came out with a book. And I remember one part he said they had to play it out to make sure that it made sense. And then his family members was like giving him tips and stuff like that. So I said, well, I want this to be the ultimate card matching game, but it has a twist to it. It's two ways to win this game. And I want a fast pace, I want it razzle dazzle, and I want it to go the distance. Those are the things that I want. Now let's put it together. And that's when I put everything together. I'm like, oh, this thing could get Uno some competition, man. This thing, and it gets competitive. Like me and my girl, like she up like 5-2 on me right now, and she be making me mad because I created the game. You know what I'm saying? She be beating me. So, but it gets you going. That's what I love about 2-1.
It sounds like you're getting ready to compete with Uno and spades. It's like those are the main two games that I always hear. It's
I will say this is up there because like each person gets 6 cards. You can match out and matching out means you can win. You can match out on the first hand before everybody even starts playing their hand. Or you could go to the distance and go through the whole deck and then away. And I had to create that. See, look, and when you're creating games, you gotta look at all the what ifs. So I said, what if you go through the whole deck of cards? How can you determine the winner? Well, I call it sudden death. So if you go through the whole deck of cards, the last person with the most matches wins that game.
Mm.
But then you got other areas where you can discard out and win too. You can match out, you can discard out, you can routine wild card out. Man, there's a lot of ways you can get out of this thing. But it's like strategies. It makes you, sharp and a little bit different. Not the color stacks of the Uno or the number stacks of the Uno. You don't do it like that, but it's a nice little twist. Phase 10, I don't know if you ever played, but it's 10 phases to win the game. I ain't got all day for that, but some people do.
Right.
You got to play every stage and every phase. But once again, can't come at the numbers. Number 2 in the world. So somebody doing something right.
Yeah. I like that. I guess where can people find, get a hold of your game and just get in touch with you if they want to connect or just be able to hear more from you?
SteveTheLegacy.com. Once again, SteveTheLegacy.com. Steve.co on IG and Steve the Legacy on Facebook. And SteveTheLegacy.co on TikTok.
Awesome. And one last question I have for you is, are you still who you say you are?
I'm just now meeting myself. I've been waiting for him for the last 10 years. So before who I said I was, I didn't know who I was. I just knew something was more. I'm just now meeting myself now and seeing the capabilities, and I actually can see what he's made of. People don't know what you're made of until you get put to the test of life.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for the time, Steve.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
You're very welcome.